and welcome to Wave Clinical Support. I see from your request you've got a patient who's wearing lenses rather successfully from a comfort standpoint, but you're struggling a little bit with the vision. From a visual standpoint, it looks like you've got a pretty straightforward spherical over-refraction, and although it doesn't match exactly with your spectacle refraction, if you're pretty comfortable with your over-refraction, I think you can just add that in pretty safely and you should do fine. These corneas are pretty spherical, so I think it'll be a pretty straightforward add-in. If we look at the fit, first comment on that is if the lenses are acceptably comfortable and you think they're physiologically safe to wear, I would just go with them. You probably don't even have to change them. But if you'd like to try to work on that design a little bit more, we'll talk about a couple things with your current topographies. We're going to concentrate mainly on the right one. Our biggest thing we run into is if we don't have perfect topography going in. Wave tends to be very, very accurate at looking at the topography, so it's going to design, if you've got some erroneous data, it's going to give you some erroneous designs. And so I think that's what's happening in particular in this right lens. You've got some lid interaction up here and some lacrimal lake down here on the very bottom. That's probably affecting your design, especially in this vertical meridian. So a couple things you can do. Assuming you're stuck with this topography and you can't change anything, I don't know if you've worked much with the dots editing feature in Wave. I find it very, very successful where I can't pull a great topography, maybe it's a small lid aperture. What I'll do is I'll go in here, and if you go to Photo Process, we'll see if we get this image to come in for you. Okay. And so if we look at Photo Process, if you go over here to Dots Editing, and you've got this little left and right arrow here. You've got your central ring here. It's going to look at each set of rings, as hopefully you're familiar with this. I'll just kind of walk my way out here, and I'll try to get as far out before I start losing my data. And I might correct a couple of these little areas as I go, just to try to get the data as accurate as I can, especially as I get closer to the edge of my useful data. And we're getting close here. My guess is I'm going to run out of useful rings here in just a moment. I'll get that as close as I can. Let's see if we can get that any better. Okay, that's about as close as we're going to do there. And I think we're going to almost at the end of this zone. I'll see if I can clean this one up a little bit more. So we got pretty good. I'm guessing my next ring I'm going to lose a lot of data from this lid. If we go up here, there it goes. So I can, if I'm daring enough, I can try to roll that. That's still not too bad. We'll keep that one. Let's go one more. Okay, we kind of lost it. So I'm going to go back over here. And then what you can do, you can go over here and delete external. It's going to get rid of all this data out here. It's going to remove this lacrimal pool. It's going to get rid of all this data from the lid. And then you're just going to extrapolate based on this central part. And it's going to take this out. And I think you get a little truer representation of that cornea than you will if you leave that lid data in. So I just do delete external. And it's going to get rid of all these rings out here. Now you'll see, although I've only got my central cornea, when you extrapolate, now you're going to get a little bit better representation of the cornea. So in a bind, if I don't have great topographies, if I'm stuck with what I have, that's a great little tool to use from Wave. So we're going to move that out of the way for a second. If we go back to the actual designs though, you mentioned in your design that you have some pooling in that superior area. If we look at your design, you've got pretty good alignment through here. When you get up to the top zone, you've got a little bit more clearance in through here, so I would expect this lens to give you some pooling up through this upper lower part. Again, I think this is a little erroneous data that's Wave is factored in just because that lid's in the way. What I would probably do, I kind of mocked up a design here. If you're going to just keep your current design and just make a couple little changes with it, the first thing I would do is I'd probably bring this zone back down to about a 6 and a 7. I want to get as much of the landing zone between this blue and pink dot as we can, so get a little more area for that lens to land on. This is a little smaller area. I'd like to see if we can get a little bit more over here. So we'll do that, and I'll just let the Wave do some designing for us. We'll give it a moment to run the software. And you'll see the lens will look a little bit different here. Okay, there we go. So now I've got a lens here that's, if we look at it, it lines up pretty well all the way around. We got a little bit of a bump up through that area in these little hot spots here. So I want to get this horizontal line. This is a nice meridian to get lined up pretty well. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set this at 25%. Just click this down a little bit. Another way you can look at that back surface. You want to get a nice, pretty even area through here. You can kind of bring this one down a little bit, try to smooth out that back surface so it's a little more rounded. And now you've got a lens that looks like it's pretty well aligned all the way around. Put it back at 100% to make sure you got enough edge lift for the tear pump. You might even want to bring this one up a little bit here. Bring this back down. Okay, so you got a reasonably good lens around there. So that's working with the data that you currently have, trying to line it back up. And so I think you're very close on your designs, actually. And again, once again, if this patient is reasonably comfortable in the lens and you think physiologically they're okay on the eye, then I would consider maybe just adding in the over-refraction data. Well, I wish you well with this case. By the way, you should follow the same similar concept on this left eye. I wish you well in this case, and thank you for contacting Wave Support. Have a great day.